Welcome to Spectator Sport, and I'm Zachary Roach.
I'm Adi Wale.
This is another edition of Spectator Sport. We are finally in person today. I finally get to see you. How you doing, brother?
I'm all good.
All good. You know, we talking today NBA season review. As we all know, the LA Lakers just have won the championship, so we're going to get into that. Make sure you go on YouTube and go to the Spectator Sport page. Check out the previous clips from old shows. This one will be up soon, so go ahead and check it out. Leave your comments. Let's talk about the NBA season. This was a crazy year. I mean, 2020, I don't even know, we're not even going to get into everything in 2020, but it changed everything. It changed all sports. No fans. The NBA, they had a season, then they had to stop playing, come back, and play in the bubble in Orlando, Florida. So it was just crazy. It threw a lot of things off, but we got to see some exciting playoff games. No question about it. So let's talk about disappointing teams and pleasant surprises. So let me speak to me. Which team was the biggest disappointment of the 2019-2020 season?
I'm going with the Philadelphia 76ers. Philadelphia, even though they didn't have Ben Simmons in the playoffs, no one expected them to get swept in the first round to the Boston Celtics, all right? Now, in Game 3, Philadelphia did have a 2-point lead going against Boston and everything with a minute and a half to go in the game. But Boston double-teamed Joel Embiid in the paint, forced him into a couple of turnovers, which led to some fast break points and led to the loss to Boston to go down 3-0. And who comes back from that? Nobody, okay? Now, Philly's excuse is the Ben Simmons kneecap injury, but in the last 21 games that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid played together, they only won 10 of those games, all right? And how about Al Horford, all right? This guy, in the first 3 playoff games, he averaged 5 points a game. And he's only making $27 million per year through the 2023 season. And how about Tobias Harris? This guy in the first 3 playoff games, he shot 33% from the field, and he was 0 for 10 from the 3-point line. He's only making $36 million per year through the 2024 season. This whole Philadelphia tanking and the process, the process and all that, it started in 2012 when they traded Andre Iguodala in a big 14 trade. They traded him to Denver. They ended up with Andrew Bynum from the Lakers. He was always in street clothes as Philly was taking it. Then the next season, they traded Drew Holiday, their point guard, to the New Orleans Pelicans for the number 5 overall pick, Nerlens Noel, who ended up being a bust. This process, this tanking been going on for 9 years, going on a decade. I'm saying them getting swept in the first round was the biggest disappointment in the NBA.
Ooh, that was pretty disappointing. So let me ask you, going into this season, they just hired Doc Rivers. Do you trade one of Embiid or Simmons, or are you willing to go another year with him?
I would go another year with him. I would try to trade Al Horford or Tobias Harris to try to get like Bradley Beal or DeMar DeRozan or something like that. They need to trade Al Horford. That experiment, because they was pretty good with Jimmy Butler and everything, but they lost him. That was a big loss, and so they really need to replace him with a scorer on the wing.
Absolutely. And I felt like they got rid of a lot of their shooters. JJ Redick, they traded a lot of their shooters away too. So Covington, so a lot of people, the court just wasn't spread, and they quit on Brett Brown. I mean, you get swept. Joel Embiid, you got to be better than that. I know you had good numbers, but sometimes you got to at least get your team to 1 or 2 games despite the circumstances. That's what it takes. So Philly was definitely disappointing. That was my number 1 team. I'm with you. I got a couple other teams out there. The Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks, best record in the league, again, for the second straight year with the MVP Giannis, and they got destroyed, manhandled by the Miami Heat. That was pretty astonishing right there. I kind of saw it coming. I think a lot of us, some people saw it coming, because we always wondered with Milwaukee, okay, you got Giannis. Who's going to be their closer? Who's going to be their second option? Who's going to be the guy that can get them over the hump?
Chris Middleton.
Obviously, he's not that guy. He is not that guy. And then I got one more team for you. Then you can comment on the Clippers. I mean, listen, the Clippers, when you go get Kawhi Leonard NBA champion, Finals MVP twice, Defensive Player of the Year 2 times. Pretty much been phenomenal the last 5. You know, when he's playing, whenever Kawhi is playing, he has been dominant. That's just what it is. You get Paul George. You call 3-1 with Doc Rivers as your coach. You are supposed to bring that home. You are supposed to bring that home, and you did not bring that home. What's your thoughts on the Clippers?
Well, yeah, you got to give the Nuggets credit. They was down 3-1 to the Utah Jazz, too, and came back 3-1 to the Clippers. And so, but they blew it, man. The Clippers definitely blew it, losing big leads in the playoffs to the Nuggets. And they just the Joker, he was killing them. And I was wondering, damn, what would AD have done to them if they did advance to play the Lakers?
Yeah.
So they really need to get a big man next year, a rebounder, maybe Drummond or Kevin Love or LaMarcus Aldridge, somebody, a big man to bang with the Joker and AD.
And Doc Rivers didn't make no adjustments in that series, too. That's another reason why he let go. He kept letting Montrezl Harrell trying to guard Joker. I mean, he was just absolutely destroying Montrezl. I was like, what is he doing?
Well, you know what? I was saying on the other show, Montrezl Harrell, he's only 6'7".
Exactly. He's too small.
Yeah, so that was my thing. I was saying, like, they was too small to match up against the Lakers. I thought he was going to go against the Lakers and lose because of how small they are, but the Joker took care of him.
Yeah, he definitely took care of him. He showed him, you better get a big man or it's going to be the same situation next year. No doubt about it. So those were definitely 3 the underwhelming teams, but Philly, you're right. They take the cake. Mm-hmm. And plus, they're in the Eastern Conference. They are in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, right.
They're in the East. They have no excuse. They should be much better than what they planned. Who was your pleasant surprise in the NBA this year?
Well, other than the Miami Heat, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to go with, because we'll talk about them later, but I'm going with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Ooh, nice.
Okay, Oklahoma City Thunder. Because before the season, they was trying to tank, all right? Yeah. They was trying to tank the season. They traded Paul George to the Clippers for Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and 5 first-round picks.
Before you go any further, if the Clippers would have just got Kawhi Leonard and didn't make that trade for Paul George, is there a difference? Do the Clippers get past Denver?
Ooh, wow. That's a good question right there. They probably can. If they would have just kept Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari, I don't think so.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I just said.
Yeah, that's a good question, though. That's a good question. They can answer that. But you know what? And so they made the trade. They traded Russell Westbrook as well to Houston for 2 first-round picks and CP3, and they traded their starting power forward Jeremy Grant to the Denver Nuggets for a first-round pick. So the tank was on. They went into the season with their core players, of Steven Adams. They had Dennis Schroeder, and of course Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari, led by the 35-year-old Chris Paul. And these guys shocked everybody with the number 5 seed. All right, nobody was picking them to make the playoffs. It was a number 5 seed over Utah, Dallas, Portland, and the San Antonio Spurs, and they forced the Houston Rockets to a Game 7 where the Canadian, Lou Dort, undrafted rookie free agent from Arizona State, shocked Houston in the NBA world with 30 points in that Game 7. Then you had CP3, became the oldest player in NBA history with a triple-double in a Game 7. Despite that, OKC was down 1 point with a minute and a half to go and in the fourth quarter. And so Steven Adams stole the ball from Eric Gordon, passed it to CP3, who drove to the paint, and James Harden did a little silly flop move, but Chris Paul had the open floater and missed. But OKC had another chance when they threw it to Lou Dort, who was trying to get his 33rd point of the game, pulled up for 3 on James Harden, but Harden had an uncharacteristically great defensive play in the clutch.
He was better on defense this year. He was a lot better.
Yeah, he came through, blocked the ball, and Lou Dort tried to save it off of him, but out of bounds on OKC. And then the Thunder had one more chance with about 1 second to go in the game, and Gilgeous-Alexander's pass to Steven Adams was stolen by P.J. Tucker. They lost in Game 7, but it still was a remarkable run by the OKC Thunder to get the 5th seed, force the Rockets to a Game 7. I'm saying, other than the Miami Heat, the OKC Thunder had was the biggest pleasant surprise in the NBA.
OKC was definitely a big surprise. I'm gonna go with the Toronto Raptors. I know the Raptors have been in the playoffs. They've been the mainstay in the playoffs for like the last 5 to 7 years now. But after they lost Kawhi Leonard, a lot of people thought they would fall off. They still was able to be the second in the East this year. They still won over 50 games this year. Their defense was top notch, and they took Boston. I mean, the classic Game 7. Almost beat Boston and go back to the Eastern Conference Finals, which makes me wonder if Kawhi Leonard should have just stayed with the Raptors, because I felt like we would have saw a different level of finals if Kawhi Leonard would have stayed with the Raptors versus the LA Lakers. But doesn't matter. It didn't happen. So, but Toronto Raptors showed great. Van Fleet really stepped his game up this year. Siakam was good during the regular season. Now, his playoffs, he kind of fell off. He showed that he's not a number one option. That's not him. He's perfect as a number two because he can play defense. He's long. He's athletic. He can get up and run the court, but he's not a go-to scorer. But they were pleasantly surprised, and I like the way they played. Kyle Lowry seems like after Kawhi, since when he got Kawhi, Kyle Lowry, because remember, it was a big knock on Kyle Lowry that when the playoffs started, he's not going to show up. And when Kawhi got there, I think he saw Kawhi. I'm not giving Kawhi all the credit for him, but he all of a sudden became a clutch playoff performer out of nowhere. So I give the Raptors mad credit. And Nick Nurse is a phenomenal coach. When they fired Dwayne Casey, I didn't know about that move because I was like, man, Dwayne Casey been winning. But now Nick Nurse made me realize, okay, I see why they got rid of Dwayne Casey for you. So shout out to the Raptors. That was my most pleasant surprise. Anybody else you want to throw out there before we go?
Well, yeah, we talked about this team briefly, but yeah, the Denver Nuggets. Yeah, everybody just knew that it was going to be Clippers-Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, and they was down 3-1. They came back. Jamal Murray, man, that man was snapping. He was unguardable. And then they didn't have Will Barton or I know Harris. He came back later. He was hurt, but he came back late. But they didn't have Will Barton. They had the rookie Michael Porter Jr. out there trying to grow and learn and things like that. But the Nuggets going to the Western Conference Finals and eliminating the Clippers was huge.
Absolutely. But we all know the most surprising team was the Miami Heat. Let's be real. The 5th seed in the East, they go all the way to the finals. And not only did they go to the finals, they absolutely dismantled everybody in the East. They swept the Pacers. They beat the Bucks in 5. They beat the
Celtics in 6.
I mean, they dismantled everybody in the East. And hell, they the only team to get 2 games against the Lakers. Only team. Everybody else the Lakers. So I give the Miami Heat mad. They get mad props for this season. I think this season is going to set them up for the future. No question. But let's talk about the players. It was some disappointing players. It was some players that exceeded expectations. So who was your most disappointing player this season in NBA?
Russell Westbrook. All right. Yeah, Russell Westbrook. He was supposed to be an upgrade over the man he was traded for, CP3, but Houston got worse. All right. In Game 6 against OKC in the playoffs, the first round, the Houston Rockets was down 2 points in the game with 13 seconds to go. Russell Westbrook drives to the hole on Gilgeous-Alexander. He was double-teamed by CP3. Bad pass to Covington. It went out of bounds for the turnover. His 7th turnover of the game. Houston Rockets lost that game to force a Game 7 that the Rockets was very fortunate to win that Game 7 in advance to play the Lakers in the second round for the gentleman's sweep. Okay, so Russell Westbrook had 30 turnovers in the 8 playoff games that he played this season. And since Kevin Durant left him, he was the MVP in 2017, but he was a first round out. In 2018, he was a first round out. In 2019, and they just barely beat the underdog OKC Thunder to advance to the second round this season. And now the Houston Rockets are stuck with his $44 million a year contract through 2023. I don't know what they're going to do, and I don't know what Westbrook is going to do. I was saying he was the most disappointing player this season.
Russell Westbrook it's always been one of my favorite players because he plays so hard. He goes up and down the court 100 miles an hour. It's just exciting to see a guy. But the thing that's disappointing me about Russell Westbrook is I haven't seen his game improve. His jump shot has not gotten no better. He's been in the league 11, 12 seasons now. His jumper should be much better. He's still in the playoff. In the last 4 playoffs, he has really not been good. First it was Donovan Mitchell with Utah outplaying him. Then it was
don't forget about Damian Lillard.
Dame Lillard, game timing him. Dame time.
Right.
And then it was
they lost to the Rockets too.
And then now it's this. And it's just like his emotional, he can't control himself. He comes up and shoots them jumpers that he always misses every time. So his game has to improve. He has to be able to shoot a three. I don't know who he can play with his game right now. I don't know what team he can fit with. I don't know what other superstar he can play with. I mean, he's had them all. He's had Durant. He's had
Paul George.
Is Paul George? I don't know. We have to see about that. But James Harden is definitely big time. So, but Russell Westbrook is definitely disappointed. Paul George for me. Paul George, and once again, it wasn't Westbrook's fault with him. He was just bad in the playoffs with OKC last year. He got gamed by Dame Dollar. Got gamed by him. Then tried to talk trash. And then came back in the playoffs. He had 2 good games in the playoffs. 2 good games for the most part. He had 2 games over 30. You don't get a guy and trade all them first-round picks. 5 first-round picks to have 2 games over 30 in the playoffs. Now, Kawhi Leonard stunk it up in Game 7. But Kawhi had carried Paul George all through the playoffs. And the one game where Kawhi finally decided to have a bad game, who has his back? Nobody. Paul George did not have it. That's the difference between the Lakers and the Clippers. This is why the Lakers won and the Clippers lost. LeBron's robbing, Anthony Davis showed up every time, big time. Paul George did not. Kawhi could not afford to have a bad game. This is why people are saying he should have just stayed in Toronto because of Paul George. He is the main reason he did not step up to the plate. He was scared. He blamed depression. He did everything possible to say why he just made a ton of excuses when you just didn't play well. And you haven't played well the last few playoffs. Let's just be honest. Yeah. Paul George, it would not shock me if the Clippers are shopping around trying to get rid of him because they realize they made a mistake. Kawhi Leonard made a mistake. LeBron James picked the right guy to play with him. Kawhi picked the wrong guy. Let's just be honest about the situation. Yeah. Because Kawhi pretty much did the same thing as LeBron did. Yeah. Picked his destination, picked his sidekick. He picked the wrong guy. Point blank.
Who thought Kyle Lowry would be a better sidekick to Kawhi than Paul George?
Siakam is a better sidekick.
Siakam, yeah. But I don't think they're going to try to get rid of Paul George. I heard the rumors, but they gave up so much for him. Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and most importantly, 5 first-round picks. So I just feel like they pot committed to Paul George, and they're going to keep him.
Hey, we'll see. Look, the way Steve Ballmer got rid of Doc Rivers, Steve Ballmer, he's not playing this stuff now. When he first took over the ownership of the Clippers, he said, I'm learning. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to watch. Mm-hmm. Now he's watched, he's seen it, and when he fired Doc Rivers, I was like, okay, anything is on the table. I know he's not going to get rid of Kawhi Leonard, but anything is on the table. And Paul George you never know. I'm telling you right now. Percentage, I give it about a 30% chance. I do think he's going to be back for the most part, but I wouldn't be surprised. Which player exceeded your expectations the most?
Well, I'm going with Jaylen Brown with Boston. The number 3 overall pick in the 2016 draft. He continues to elevate his game to a whole nother level every season he's in the league. Last year in the 2018-19 season, he averaged 13 points, 4 rebounds, shot 34% from 3, but this past season, he elevated his game. He definitely significantly improved his production. He averaged 20 points a game, 6 rebounds, and 38% from 3. He finished 4th overall in the most improved player of the year voting behind Luka Doncic, Bam Adebayo, and the man who won the award, Brandon Ingram. And Jaylen Brown, he kept improving his game in the playoffs. Yeah. In that thriller, that Game 7 thriller against the Toronto Raptors, he had 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 steals in that game as Boston eliminated the Toronto Raptors in that game. And in the last 9 games of the playoffs, he continued to excel, averaging 24 points, 8 rebounds a game. He was versatile enough to play big man, power forward, center in the Celtics small ball lineup with Marcus Smart, Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, and Jason Tatum. So he's a perfect number 2 guy to Jason Tatum. Tatum. He's a team's second best defender behind Marcus Smart. I mean, he's a perfect fit there. He's going to keep getting better, and he definitely elevated his game and exceeded expectations.
Absolutely. That is a great one. I'm going with Jimmy Buckets. I gotta go with Jimmy Buckets. It ain't even about that. I can go with the stats, but his arrival in Miami changed the whole culture of the Miami Heat. Now, I ain't gonna say change the culture because you still have Pat Riley and Eric Spo, and they practice and teach toughness, stamina, and playing hard and being the ultimate competitor. That's what they teach. But Jimmy Butler was the perfect player to bring the player who could be an extension of the coach, and that whole team believed, and they played hard all season. They exceeded, even before the bubble, they exceeded expectations. A lot of people, including myself, didn't even have them in the playoffs. Was I wrong. And then in the playoffs, I'm going to tell you the game where I said, like, the Heat might have a chance to go to the final. It was game 1 against the Milwaukee Bucks. The game was close, and Jimmy Butler absolutely took over. He went nuts in the fourth quarter, ended up with like 40 points in that game, and just killed Milwaukee's spirit. Yeah. He just killed Milwaukee's spirit. And you talking about, he was playing against the MVP. The MVP was supposed to be on Giannis. The MVP looked like he played for the Miami Heat.
Right.
And then for them to beat Boston and then to go, Jimmy Butler, LeBron always gets credit for leading his team in all the categories. Guess who just did that? Jimmy Buckets. Jimmy Buckets was averaged about 26, 11, and 8 in the finals. He was monster. So I know that last game he was tired. It was over for him, but Jimmy Buckets really stepped to the table, and I know a lot of people, including myself, had things said he was not a good teammate. He was right about Minnesota. He was right about Philly. He was right about the Bulls. Jimmy Butler showed up. He shut me up, and he shut a whole bunch of other critics up. That man is a star.
Yeah. He went public with a lot of criticism about his teammates and coaches, and seems like Minnesota Timberwolves was soft and all that.
Yeah, they were soft.
Yeah, but he came through. Jimmy Butler, I can't hate on him, man. I don't like the way he go public with his little disagreements. He should just go to the guy and talk to him. But hey, the man balled out. I can't hate him.
And he played. The Miami Heat was undermanned team for them even. Like, we watched game 1, and I was like, they have no chance. They have no chance to win the game. For them to get 2 games against the almighty Lakers, that's still incredible. So, it's Jimmy Butler for me, no question.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the finals. LeBron James playing in his 10th finals. Was it 10 or 11?
Was it 12 or 14?
He's played a lot of finals. He was 3 and 6. No, he's 4. He's 4 and 6 now.
4 and 6, okay.
So this is 10 NBA finals, which is incredible. You go 8. He's won 9 of the last 10 seasons when he's led a team. So that's a remarkable stat right there. That is very, very impressive, and that's why he's the best of this generation. The Lakers. The Miami Heat, unexpected opponent. A lot of people thought it was going to be the Bucks, maybe the Celtics, but they got the Miami Heat.
Right.
Before these playoffs, I don't think no one considered. Everybody thought Jimmy Butler was a good player, all-star player, but I don't think they considered him a superstar.
Yeah, no one predicted Miami going to the NBA.
Yeah, no one predicted that. If you did, you should have went to Vegas.
Right.
You could have made yourself a lot of money. So this was an unpredictable finals, a finals that we thought we weren't going to get. And it was a crazy playoffs because no home court advantage. It was just in a bubble, just the court. Everybody had the same advantages. So it was crazy. What was your thoughts on this finals between the Lakers and the Heat?
Well, you know what? The Miami Heat, I'm giving a little credit. Despite Miami missing their all-star big man, Bam Adebayo, for 2 games in the finals, and their starting point guard, Gordon Dragic, for 4 games in the finals, they was the only team in the entire playoffs to force the Lakers to a Game 6, as the Lakers did the gentleman's sweep on Portland, the Houston Rockets, and then the Clippers blew a 3-1 lead against the Denver Nuggets, and so the Nuggets advanced to the Western Conference Finals for the gentleman's sweep against LeBron and AD. And so the Heat lost Game 6 in that second quarter. They lost Game 6 in that second quarter of that game, and they only hit 1 3. They only hit 1 out of 7 3-point shots in that second quarter. And Rajon Rondo, the man, he went crazy. He was perfect in the second quarter. He had 9 points and the man KCP, the former Piston, KCP had 11 points in that quarter, and the Heat was down 28 points at halftime. Game over, right? So the Los Angeles Lakers became the first team since the 2007-2008 Boston Celtics to win a championship after missing the playoffs in the previous season. And we all know that's because the Celtics made the big trade for Kevin Garnett, who was with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and got Ray Allen out of Seattle with a big trade, got him from the Supersonics. And before this season, Anthony Davis demanded the trade to play
Clutch Sports, man.
Yeah, right. Demanded the trade to play with LeBron James, okay? And so New Orleans, they ended up getting Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, they got Brandon Ingram in the first round pick. And so this is the second straight year that a team won an NBA championship because of MVP caliber guy demanded a trade from their team. Last year it was Kawhi Leonard leaving the Spurs, going to the Toronto Raptors. Now I'm trying to see who is it going to be this year. Is the trend going to continue? Is Giannis Antetokounmpo going to demand a trade or something? So we'll see.
Yeah, I thought it was I wasn't, when I watched the first game, I was like, I don't really want to watch this. But then I went back and watched. I was like, just let me see Miami. And Miami showed a lot of fight. Because they were very undermanned. The Lakers were way bigger team than them. They were the Miami was way too small, and the Miami played it was as for what they had. Like you said, no Dragic. Bam was hurt a couple games. They played it was about as they did. They gave everything they had. I mean, Jimmy Butler put it all out there. The whole team. Eric Spoelstra coached about as good as he can. But the Lakers, like you said, they were just too much. And what I do like about the Lakers, though, I like the fact that they put the big man back in the topic of conversation. Mm-hmm. I like that they play with size to show, like, hey, you're not just going to keep playing small ball. Any team that try to play small ball against the Lakers punished everybody. Last one of them. The Rockets, I was wrong about. I thought the Rockets would be able, because of the small ball, to be able to get Lakers problem. Boy, was I wrong. That was no. Mm-hmm. The Lakers have the cheat code. They put Anthony Davis at center, and that's game on. Mm-hmm. There's nothing you can do. Anthony Davis on defense is phenomenal. He can switch on pick and rolls. Guards just can't get by him. If they do get by him, he's blocking his shot from behind. He's posting up. I mean, game 2 against the Nuggets, he's hitting threes at the buzzer to win. I mean, that's just a huge play. And then LeBron was LeBron. LeBron was phenomenal every series, pretty much every game. I mean, my favorite LeBron game in this playoff run was against the Nuggets Game 5 to close out. I mean, he was spectacular. Yeah. He was spectacular. I mean, he closed that thing out. Like he just took over. That's the LeBron. I love the LeBron when he's being aggressive, looking to score. I know the stats look all good when he gets the triple doubles, but the LeBron I like is the one that when he's attacking, going to the rim, dunking on people, looking to score. So it was just a very phenomenal run by the Lakers. I got to give them credit. They lost one game every series, like you say, gentlemen's sweep. Miami got 2. I mean, it was their year. It was their time. LeBron with his 4th ring, which is phenomenal. Now him and Jordan are the only players that have over 4 Finals MVPs now.
Okay, they have at least 4.
They have at least 4. Okay. Sorry, not over, but at least 4. Yeah. So that is pretty good. LeBron is the best of this generation. You just got to call it what it is. Anthony Davis. Big time pickup, big move right there. That changed the whole landscape of the Lakers right there. I mean, because last year, a lot of people are making fun of the Clippers for choking against the Nuggets in Game 7, but the Lakers didn't even make the playoffs last year until they traded for Anthony Davis. So let's not forget that. So shout out to the Lakers. Congratulations. They're the world champions. They earned it. They deserve it. They played great ball. And that's what it is. And they role players stepped up. Yeah,
Rondo. Rondo came in. He was clutch. He was big, man. He had about 19 points in that game 6 to clinch the game. Yeah. And so that was huge. KCP, another guy that stepped up big. And so somebody always stepping up. Danny Green did miss that 3 in game 5, which would have won the game. But they came back big with a blowout.
Yeah, they showed Miami, all right, we had enough of y'all. Pretty much. So Hey, look, you got to get credit. When they did what they supposed to, everybody mad because they didn't play the Clippers. Be mad at the Clippers. Yeah. They the one that had a 3-1 lead and lost it. So be mad at the Clippers. The Clippers didn't do what they were supposed to do. Yeah. Point blank. And the Lakers did. They handled business when they were supposed to handle it, and LeBron got the Finals MVP, and it was well deserved. There's no question about it. They were the best team in the NBA this season. So hopefully next season, if it starts, I don't know when it's going to start. They say in January. We don't know. Mm-hmm. We'll see how they go. Hopefully they back to some normalcy. What's your final thoughts of the season? Let's summarize the season right quick.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know what? My final thought is just one team that I'm really thinking about. You know, I look at a team this young and dangerous team, the Dallas Mavericks. They really have a bright future. They had the Clippers nervous in the first round, even though the Clippers did have a 2-1 series lead in Game 4. That game went into overtime. The Mavericks was down 1 point with 3.7 seconds to go in the game. Luka Doncic versus Reggie Jackson. He crossed him left, then right, step back, 3, bang for the game winner. This guy, he stepped up big. Luka had 43 points, 17 rebounds, 13 assists against a couple of all defensive team guys on that Clippers team. And so Luka, he's not intimidated. He's never intimidated, even though the Morris twin was trying his best to bully him, talking all kind of stuff to him and everything. But Luka just kept getting better, kept getting up and attacking. The man has plenty of heart and passion for the game. This guy was an all-NBA first-teamer this past season. He's going to be a legitimate MVP candidate in 2021, but can Porzingis be that number 2 guy to Luka Doncic? That's what I'm trying to figure out. But the man, he's been battling a lot of injuries in February of 2018. He tore his left ACL. He missed the 2018-2019 season. Came back this year, missed 18 games, but returned for the playoffs and then missed the last 3 playoff games against the Clippers because he tore his meniscus in his right knee. So all eyes on Mark Cuban right now. All eyes on him. He needs to package the deal. Package these guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., DeLon Wright, Justin Jackson. All 3 of those guys make a combined $33 million next season. They can trade them guys to the Wizards for Bradley Beal, who's making $33 million next season. Luka Doncic and Bradley Beal together would be very difficult to beat, especially if Porzingis can stay healthy. If they can't get Bradley Beal, I say look at DeMar DeRozan. The Spurs, they should be looking to rebuild because LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan only have 1 year left on their contract. They'll be unrestricted free agents in 2021. They might want to get something back for them. So Dallas, if they can't get Bradley Beal, look at DeMar DeRozan. So I'm really just looking at the Mavs like they're going to be a very dangerous team next year.
Absolutely. I mean, the West is going. I mean, Golden State's going to be back. Steph Curry, Clay, and all of them's going to be back next year. They got the number 2 pick here. This year, I don't know if they're going to draft or they're going to trade, but I got a feeling they got something big brewing up in Golden State. No the Clippers, even though we've been roasting them all show for losing the 3-1 lead, they'll be back. Of course, LeBron and AD, the champions, your Denver Nuggets. Yeah. But I'm looking at the Eastern Conference. It is time for the East to step it up. The GMs, the scouts, the coaches, the players, haven't you had enough of the Western Conference laughing at y'all, just beating y'all all the time? It is time. Hopefully the Brooklyn Nets with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving can do something, but it is time. I am looking to see what the East are going to do. Doc Rivers is now coaching the Philadelphia 76ers. The Bulls have a new coach, and Billy Donovan. So I want the scouts, the GMs, y'all need to go there and scout. Get some players, find a way to make some smart trades. Stop making these dumb trades, because that's why you have a good team, then you let the good team go. I'm looking at the East. When are you going to step up to the table? The Western Conference has been dominating this thing for far too long. Eastern Conference, when are you going to step to the table?
Yeah. Kawhi Leonard leaving the East, going to the Clippers really hurt the East. Another thing, the Atlanta Hawks trading Luka Doncic for Trae Young. I think Luka Doncic is like MVP candidate. I like Trae Young, but I think they should have kept him in the East. And so the Milwaukee Bucks, they're going to hopefully they try to get Chris Paul, some CP3, and then you got Toronto Raptors. They need a wing to come in there. What's going to happen with Bradley Beal? What's going to happen with DeMar DeRozan? Hopefully some guys go to the Eastern Conference and maybe somebody help Philadelphia, help the 76ers out or something. So.
Yeah, hopefully Bradley Beal will get traded to the West. Hopefully he don't get traded to the West, right? Because that Dallas thing seems real to me. I'm not going to lie. He'd be the perfect fit to play with Luka Doncic. So, listen, the East is time to step up. But I'm looking at some young teams. I'm looking at the Phoenix Suns, though.
Yeah,
they're coming. Sacramento, they still coming out. I'm looking at some young teams, but once again, all these teams are in the West. The East, it is time to step up.
The Pacers got to stay healthy. They had Victor Oladipo was hurt, and then Sabonis, he was hurt. That's why the reason why they got swept by the Miami Heat. So they're a scrappy team.
But they're a scrappy team, but they're in the West. They're not a playoff team.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest about the situation. The East, it's time. Okay, listen. We live in the Chicago. We're Bulls fans. It is time. So I'm see what the East. Are they serious about winning or not? Or are they just gonna keep throwing out these weak teams, and then you get in these finals and you have these super mismatches? Shout out to Miami Heat for fighting and making at least a series out of it. But in actuality, on paper and everything, that was one of the biggest mismatches in finals history.
Yeah, I will say this: the Western Conference was very disappointing in the playoffs. Okay, it was a cakewalk for the Lakers. It was a walk in the park for the Lakers to make it to NBA Finals, and only the team that made the Lakers sweat the most was the Miami Heat, a team in the East. So
that's true.
I feel like the Heat was played way more competitive than these Western Conference teams.
Absolutely. And then also they had LeBron and AD, and it's just it is what it is. But the East got to step up. East need to build them a powerhouse team over there so we can have a good finals. I wish Kawhi would have stayed with Toronto, and we would have had a good finals. There's no question about it. You've been watching Spectator Sport, and I'm Zach Roach.
I'm Adi Wally.
And then the next time, in between time, we're gonna have a Bears. We're gonna have a Bears review of the beginning of their season on our next show. Until then, we out. Peace.